Hi there. Hope y'all got something to eat. I have not yet, but I'm going to. We ordered pizza. Give everybody just a few minutes to get back rolling. Back online. Okay, here we go. We've got 20 of us. Let's see, it's 11:58. I'm give us a few more minutes. I hope the exercises went good. Hope those went good. So Demaya, your textbooks are in. It's the one set that is in, and you can come to the, hi there, hey Molly. You can come up to the North Campus, get your fingerprint done. Your set is here. The rest of the books for our nail techs will be coming in. Didn't look like too much of a delay last week, so I expect them anytime. Y'all might want to keep asking me. Samantha Sladish, Sam. Sorry, Sam. I'm ordering your kit, so we got that. So I think I've got a few of you. There's about 6, 7, 8 nail technicians that are waiting on books. So give me another shout on that as we progress and into the week, and I'll be able to help you with that. Got a lot of little notes here. Got people from stylists from Australia who are trying to get their license and doing work for them, graduates from a long time ago. So it's people going to state board and everything else. So, hey, Kimberly, how are we doing, lady? How's that South School going? We are actually busy over here at the North Campus. We've got a really nice balayage. Yes, Mallory. Now, because you are cosmetologist, that's a little bit different on clock hours, and I'm going to write your name down so I can get that information from Randy. So I got that, and I can talk to you online about that at 3 o'clock if you're available. So we are moving right along. A couple of you may have had difficulty. Did y'all? Someone texted me and said it was hard to email me something, but I think y'all are trying to email everything at one time of the images at 5 o'clock so that we get it all then. So I'm hoping it'll go to that Gmail. I'm gonna put the email address where you're sending all the assignments again. I did get a couple of people in my regular email box, but if we can just send it all at one time every day in one lump sum, that would be great by 5 o'clock. The people who turned theirs in, y'all did some great little drawings. I'm proud of y'all. These terms are hard. This information is difficult because it's not hands-on stuff. It's DBS, distance learning at gmail.com. So I do hope that it will go through. I'm just now using that Gmail for all assignments. Assignments will go there, and then that way, if TDLR should ever want to see those assignments and see proof of that, then I've got that there showing that I'm giving you the credit and the clock hour for it. So great to see y'all. Y'all are plugging along here. We got 28 of you guys. Appreciate you guys so much. And the rest of you logging in, I will check on the rest of the books and let y'all know when they come in. Mallory, I'll ask Randy about yours since you're a cosmetologist. It's one large set. Cosmetology students, it's $1,000 set of books, so that makes it a little bit different because your down payment is different. Nail technician books are not quite as expensive because it doesn't entail that much. Oh, you were able to get through. Perfect. Okay, good, Marina. Thank you so much. And let's see, what are the little notes that I have? Hopefully Demaya was able to hear me that hers are here. We have her name on them, the workbook and the textbook for the manicurist. And you can stop by anytime you would like during business hours and we can get that to you. If you would rather me take those to the South Campus, if it's closer for you, I'll be happy to do that for you and take them down there. So just let me know. The books have, hopefully I'm looking at, when we looked at it, it looked like it would be first week of June. So I'm hoping sometime between today and this week, we'll cross our fingers on shipping. I think due to distance learning, we've just had a ton, they must have had a ton of people requiring books. And on top of that, even Lauren, my daughter, is taking an ACC class, and I couldn't even get her book in her class, her little 5-week class started. So it's crazy, but hang in there. So we learned a few things this in the first segment. We're going to go again from 12 to 1 here. Let's go ahead and get started. We're going to begin with some note taking. Again, all of these terms you are going to see on the written exam. I promise you, it's not me just telling you that you need to be busy. It truly is stuff that you do need to know. So please go ahead and jot down the information. It's great for memorization as well. Then I will email you all of the rest of the assignments so that you can work on them and get them completed by 5 o'clock and turned in. It's all diagrams again, so a little more drawing, but hopefully that wasn't too terrible on you guys. So what we have here, the epidermis. What you need to write down is the epidermis is the outermost. You're going to hear the outermost. There's 5 layers of epidermis, but the outermost layer is known as our scarf skin, and it's also known as the stratum corneum. And these are where those cells are cornified. So I'm going to give you a minute to jot that down because that's a lot of words that maybe you haven't heard. Epidermis, known as the outermost layer. It is dead. That's where the keratin has cornified the most. And remember that other word is keratinize or some people pronounce it. You'll hear it on some videos I'm going to send you. Anyway, keratinization, cornified, corneocytes, that from the very base of the epidermis, which is the 5th layer, it's most living, and then they go through a dying process up to the outermost layer of the skin, and that outermost layer of the skin is known as the scarf skin or stratum corneum. So that is a really a lot to take in, because there's a lot of, okay, it's called the epidermis, okay, it's called the scarf skin, it's cornified, which means hardened keratin, a protein substance that can be found in hooves, feathers, fingernails, hair, those appendages of the skin that we talked about this morning. Okay, so for those of you who were not in the morning session, I'll go, my tempo, I like to go a little bit quicker. So if you want to type these notes so that they're neater for you, you could do that off to the side and use your phone to hear me, if that helps. Or you can, if you prefer to jot it down, hand scribbled work, that's fine. Notes are not going to be turned in, just the diagrams. Your portion of your clock hour credit is listening and taking notes right now. Yes, Sydney, but only the emailed assignments, not all these notes. Continuing with this outermost layer, remember we spoke earlier this morning that these are squamous flat cells that are made into hard keratin. So again, we've got some more terminology and some more verbiage there. Squamous flat cells. I need to make sure my 2 brand new people are taking notes. Let me check on them. Y'all back on? Okay. It's so funny. Y'all are right there in the other room. They were watching a balayage, so I had to make sure that they were there. So perfect. Okay, so these are those squamous flattened cells that are dead on the outermost layer that we want to exfoliate. We want to use microderm on. We want to get that deadened skin off of our face and our body. Sometimes people get that crepey skin on their legs and their arms as we age, and we just want that dry ashiness to go away. So let's see, what else do I have here? They're designed, the epidermis is designed to protect the body. Duh, really, but hey. Okay. Another thing you need to know, it is a waterproof layer. You may see that on your state board exam, a waterproof layer. You also need to know that it's the toughest layer. So it's a very tough layer that is the conversion of living cells to dead cells. So as it reaches the outermost layer, that's when it becomes dead. So down in the basal layer that we're going to get to here in just a few minutes, the basal layer is just gradually moving up, dividing into cells, and continues up to the outermost layer known as the stratum corneum. That's what we're talking about, that waterproof, tough layer. And throughout these 5 cells, it's a conversion from living, which is at the base membrane, all the way to the outermost layer of the epidermis, which is the outermost layer, and that is where it's the dead layer. Hopefully I'm not going too fast. You can take a picture of it if you need. You can watch the video again if you need. Continuing on just a little further with more of the stratum corneum. It's made of a fibrous protein called keratin. We discussed that in our first hour. So if you already have those notes, you don't really need to write that down other than just getting yourself to for additional memorization. Some people do well with repetition. I like repetition. It helps me remember the best. It maintains cell stability to connect with each other through a glycolipid. So these cells are remaining stable through this glycolipids that are found in the epidermis. So it's a connection with these glycolipids. No worries, Lauren G. Glad to have you. So the epidermis is all we're talking about right now. The first layer is the one that we're on. The first layer is our stratum corneum. Let me see a little participation in the chat. What is one other simple term for the stratum corneum that begins with the letter S? Stratum corneum is also known as the outermost layer. It's a waterproof layer, also known as what? Good job. Perfect. So let's go back through the first layer one more time. Let's repeat. Repetition, repetition, repetition. Epidermis, outermost layer, known as the scarf skin. But we call that outermost layer by name stratum corneum. These cells are cornified through the process of living to dying keratin. They're also known as flattened cells that are squamous. When you go to the dermatologist, you're going to hear them say squamous cells. This is just hardened keratin protein substance. We know that the epidermis is designed to protect our bodies. We know that at State Board that we're going to answer yes, it is the waterproof layer. Otherwise, we'd be soggy. We know that it's the toughest layer and that it's going through the conversion from living to the outside layer, which is our dead cells. We know that it's made of a fibrous protein called keratin. We know that the cells maintain stability through glycolipids that help them to connect with one another. Okay, so that is the first layer. That first layer, epidermis, outermost layer. That's layer number 1. So you did that little drawing for me on your second hour on your own, and you wrote down stratum corneum. So now we're into that second layer. And that second layer, you wrote down your paper or your diagrams. is the Stratum Lucidum. You may hear other people pronounce it lucidum, but most people pronounce it lucidum. When it comes to these layers, sometimes you do get some different pronunciation. Don't be scared if you're pronouncing it wrong. You're going to hear both in tons of different methods of the way it's spoken. So our stratum lucidum is our second layer. Now, for the longest time in all of our industry, we've been told that the stratum lucidum was only found on our soles of our feet, our palms, and our lips. But science is now starting to find that that might not be necessarily true. So this is a new hot topic. So you may have some varying opinions on it. So don't get into any kind of little argument with someone over the stratum lucidum. Just understand it's our second layer and that it's primarily found on the palms, soles, and our lips. So you want to make sure that that's what you'd be answering on your state exam. So stratum corneum, outermost layer, next layer, lucidum. Okay, stratum corneum, lucidum. Continuing on with the lucidum, hair follicles usually are not present in this layer. We don't find that we have hair follicles on the palms or on our lips or on our soles of our feet. So that actually makes a lot of natural sense. It is a thick, clear, and you will see verbiage, glassy layer, a thick, clear, glassy layer. Am I going too fast? Oh, sorry, Mallory. Just hang in there. I know you're there. Okay. Good thing I have got the pages up where she can maybe read it, hopefully. I know it can be irritating. It's recommended to have a dermatologist observe any coloring matter that is found on the soles or the palms because it's usually it's unusual to have freckles or moles on your feet or your hands. So any kind of dot like a freckle or a mole should be observed by your oh, sure, I'll hold it back up again in 1 second. It's advised, it's highly advisable to get this checked by a dermatologist. I've had a student in my past who had a simple, small little freckle on the bottom of her heel, and she had to have a lot of her heel removed to prevent further damage to her foot. So it's recommended to get to a dermatologist for that. Let me go back to the page that someone just needed. Hair follicles are usually or are not found in the lucidum layer. That lucidum layer is thick, clear, and glassy. Okay, and then we have back to that one if someone needed that one. It's recommended to have a dermatologist observe any type of coloring matter found on the nail plate, actually, the nail plate, the soles of the feet, and the palms. Wait. Hold on, guys. Where's my glasses? I wrote something wrong on my next slide. I'm so sorry. This is embarrassing. I had typed this so y'all could see it, and I guess I had an interruption, and I don't want y'all to read it wrong. Let me use my marker and scratch that out. I was going, wait, did I miss one? Okay. Repeat. Epidermis, outermost layer, known as the scarf or stratum corneum. where cells are cornified as they reach the surface. They are known as squamous flat cells. They are made of hard keratin. They are designed to, the epidermis is designed to protect us. Remember, it is waterproof, tough, and the keratin is converting from living to dead cells, made of fibrous protein called keratin. The cells stay stable with glycolipids. Second layer, stratum lucidum, found on the soles and the palms and lips of our bodies, having no hair follicles growing in those areas. Thick, clear, glassy layer. If you have any spots on the palms or on the soles, be sure to have them checked out by your dermatologist. Okay, now the next one, which I almost had the term written wrong. You'll have to excuse my scratch out. I saw that and it scared me. So this next one is called the Stratum Granulosum. This one's just really short. There's not a whole lot to it, and that's why I messed up on my spelling. I'm sorry about that. Yes, Vicki, we will. Stratum granulosum is a transformation stage between the living cells and the dead cells. So what's happening is right here is when there is that transformation. The next couple layers that we talk about, they're the most living of the epidermis, and as it goes to the top, it starts the dying process. So what you would want to know about the stratum granulosum is that is when the transformation, that it's beginning to die, happens. That's stratum granulosum. Okay, so where's my paper? So when you drew this for me in the earlier segment, you've got the stratum corneum. Make sure I point right. Stratum lucidum, stratum granulosum. And what you need to know about this one is this is where that dying, see how they're starting to flatten out right there? So it's thicker right here and it's starting to undergo the dying process. So it's flattening out and sort of shriveling up. And it's going to be easier to exfoliate and get rid of that area. I mean, that topical cornified outermost layer. So stratum granulosum. So now in between here, you may have noticed the spinosum is not right here on that one. So some of you may have been smart and maybe had that question that it wasn't located on there. So you may want to add it later on if you'd like. But our next one here is the stratum spinosum, and that's our fourth layer. And what we need to know about this one is that it's prickly and it's spiny. And what it does, it sort of grabs and mends those other layers together and pulls them together. And it starts absorbing melanin from the layer below where melanin is actually manufactured. So melanin is not manufactured in the spinosum layer, but it's going to be manufactured in the next layer. But it starts to absorb melanin from melanocytes. So we have the stratum spinosum, the fourth layer, prickly and spiny, mending these layers together and absorbing that melanin from the layer below where it's beginning. Too fast or doing good? I want to make sure I keep my papers in order. Okay. Continuing on with more the Stratum Spinosum. More notes continue underneath. There is another bullet. Mitosis is very limited in, thank you, Connor. Mitosis is very limited in this layer right here, because the mitosis is actually happening in the next layer that we're going to talk about. So mitosis is a division of the cells known as daughter cells that divide into two. Now, when you were in high school, you got into much more depth of daughter cells and cell division and such. So be grateful. In cosmetology, you simply need to know one little factoid right here, and that is that cells, when they divide into two, they are known as daughter cells. And this process, this division or process, is called mitosis. That's all you have to know, and I promise you, you will see this question on your state board. So this little spinosum layer, a little bit of mitosis is going on. In this layer, keratinocytes are unified by what we call desmosomes, which is a protein cell that acts as an adhesive bond. And these are found in this layer. Now, desmosomes is definitely a term our estheticians have in their textbook. It has been a new and upcoming terminology, term rather, for them to recognize. And physicians, if you're going to work in the medical area or arena, cosmetologists who one day maybe you want to practice 15, 20 years behind the chair, but then maybe you want to work in a dermatologist office, you'll be able to. And you'll be able to utilize some of these terms that you're using. So it's just basically a protein adhesive bond found in this layer. I'm glad y'all like my speed. It's real hard to tell from this angle. Okay, let's review again real quick, as we're nearing the end of the fifth layer. Epidermis, outermost, scarf skin, squamous skin, cornified on the outermost. We're going to exfoliate those, get our brushing machine out, use our good products made of keratin protein. This epidermis protects us, waterproof, tough. There's a conversion from living at the bottom layer or all the way to the dead layer, outermost layer, a conversion going on. There's fibrous protein substances known as keratin that we talked about earlier. We've got glycolipids in this layer that maintain our cell stability to connect. And then a second layer. Woo, what is it? Yeah. I remember, it's so hard. So if we remember, the first one is Stratum Corneum. The next, so that would be the letter C. The second layer is Stratum Lucidum, the letter L. Palms and soles and lips, clear, shiny, or glassy, thick. No hair growing in those areas, thankfully, because that would be weird, really weird. We're going to check out for spots that might be present on the palms or the soles and make sure that we don't have any issues that need to be taken care of. We've got our granulosum. This is just a one-pager. It's a granular texture, and this is the transformation stage between living and dead cells. So it's a little bit thicker, not so squamous and flat. So that's the granulosum, the third layer. So that's G. Then we have spinosum, the fourth layer, prickly, spiny, mended together with these prickly, spiny texture that it has. Starts to absorb that melanin from the layer below that we're going to talk about. There's a little bit of mitosis going on right here, but that mitosis happens on the next layer we're going to talk about. This division is called mitosis, which is the division, and that division is called daughter cells, where they split and divide into two. Keratinocytes are unified by desmosomes, which is a protein that acts as an adhesive bond. All right, last layer. We're doing good. We got this education job thing we got to do, right? We got to get it done. Okay. Stratum Germinativum. They also call this the basal. It can be spelled with an E or without an E. Years ago, when I was in beauty school, it was called the Mucosum layer. We did not call it the basal layer. We called it Mucosum. Do I have oh, there we go. And this is our fifth layer. So Stratum Germinativum, basal, Mucosum, fifth layer. Now, some of you probably had that written down from doing your exercise earlier, if you were able to get to that exercise that was emailed to you for that hour credit. Olivia Fleck, you might want to go back to that email or get that emailed to you so that you can get credit for that hour and get it sent in by 5. Anybody who didn't get that done. So you got that option. No worry, Alexis. Okay, so we got the Stratum Germinativum, also known as basal, also known as Mucosum, all 3 terms, and they are all very different. Okay, this is the deepest layer of the epidermis. It's real close to the dermal layer, the dermis, which is known as the true skin, which we'll talk about at 3 o'clock, from 3 to 4. So in this layer, what you're going to need to know at State Board is this is where the melanocytes are, and this is where melanin is produced. So melanin is produced in which layer? That's what you would be asked on your board. Stratum Germinativum, or they might use the word basal, and some people pronounce it basali. There's a lot of different pronunciations for so many of these skin terms. So just bear with them. And with people who are talking about it. Okay, so talking about the different terms. Deepest layer, epidermis, responsible for the growth of the rest of the epidermis. Melanin production is found in this layer. Now I'm going to type on the computer that, oh, I have it over here. I thought I didn't write that down for y'all. Melanin is produced by melanocytes, and you do want to pronounce that melanocytes. And from the very bottom of the 5th layer up to the surface layer, it's 25 to 42 days to live, shed, and finally die to the squamous, flattened skin that's dead and cornified. So 25 to 42 days. You need to remember that. So it takes 25 to 42 days. So about once a month, we've got some fresh new skin and removing some of that rough skin. Just like eyelashes, they shed every 3 to 4 months through the anagen, catagen, and telogen stage. So 25 to 42 days to live, shed, and finally die to those squamous flattened skin. Remember that melanocytes produce melanin in this layer, and it's the most living layer. And this is where cell division, next page, this is where cell division will take place. Cell division takes place here. That's why it was limited in the layer previously. And again, just repeat, you don't have to write it down. The division is known as mitosis. And that split is known as splitting into 2 is known as daughter cells. So y'all pretty much got that one. So and again, this is just me again recapping. Recap. Pigment, this is a pigment producing layer, and mitosis occur in this layer. So pigment producing and mitosis occur in the basal germinativum, also known as mucosum. Okay, and so estheticians, a new term that you're going to see really for everyone, but especially in our estheticians. In this layer, you find the dendritic cells. And what these are, they're like little, again, like if you were to get bubble gum and splat it on a wall, they just kind of, they're just like splats, so to speak, or look like them. And they're just cells that are antigens that are going to help with immunity. And a lot of times dendritic and Langerhans, which I'll tell you what that is on the next piece of paper, they are kind of one and the same. So they're just there to help with immunity. So it's an antigen, but it's a dendritic cell. And those are found in the basal layer. So I'll let you get that down for a second. Cosmetologists and nail technicians, you more than likely would not have this on this portion right here on your state board. So you could just pencil some little notes that said, don't worry for state board. But it is very interesting because it is kind of up and coming new education for our industry. So those splats, some more of those little splats that I was talking about, those little just webby things that are found on illustrations would be your Langerhans or a lymphocyte. These are additional immunity cells, and a lot of time Langerhans, lymphocyte, dendritic cells, they're all kind of one and the same, and they're all found in this basal layer because it's the most living. That's where that cellular growth is going to be to go in there and protect the skin during the living time. So it all makes sense. And there's more verbiage here continuing on my next page. Sorry about that bullet interruption there. Langerhans, lymphocytes, and dendritic cells, they help fight infection and assist with immunity. On the last bullet of this page is base membrane. You will see the illustration of that on some of the upcoming diagrams. Base membrane is a new thing. Cosmetologists and nail technicians, I would memorize that one, that the base membrane. So down in this basal lamina area, this is kind of that glue area that glues these layers together. So it's something that's kind of new and upcoming in the education. I don't know that you'll see it on your state board for sure, but I would probably venture to go ahead and be a little more mindful of the base membrane, and that's just the glue line at the bottom of the germinativum, also known as basal layer. So let's cover that one again one more time, because that one is more in depth because it is the living one. Okay, here we go. Let's just review that and recap that again. Okay, stratum germinativum, basal, mucosum, fifth layer. Okay, so we also know that in this layer, it's going to be the deepest layer. It's going to be most living. It's responsible for the growth. So it has cell immunity, such as dendritic and Langerhans and lymphocytes that help the skin and its immunity. This is where melanin is found and produced by melanocytes. 25 to 42 days to reach the squamous, flattened outside layer that we plan to shed off through different procedures, whether it's microderm or laser or chemical peels, etc. Cell division takes place here. So there's a lot going on here. Cell division, mitosis rather. We've got the melanin being produced in this layer. It's the most living. There's a lot of immunity help in this layer. So this one probably is going to be on the test more than any of them. So again, it's pigment producing, and mitosis does occur in this layer. We have those dendritic antigens, Langerhans. Oh, and right here, estheticians, get a good look at this one right here. These little antigens that have organelles, the organelles are called Burbeck Granules. Burbeck Granules. You'll want to, estheticians, Y'all will need to be familiar with those. They're called Burbeck Granules. That is new in education for estheticians. So we got those Langerhans, the lymphocytes, dendritic cells that help fight infection and assist in immunity. And then that base membrane where it's the glue, the basal lamina, right at the base of the membrane. So that's right before we get to the dermis layer. So let me find my little chart here real quick. I think this is it. I keep myself organized here. So this is what we just, 2, 3, 4, 5, yes. This is what we just went over, and this is what you did for me for an assignment. You drew this out and you wrote those down. If you wanted to complete your notes in a different way, you could go ahead and add additional notes right here that we just took next to that page, or maybe you did that already. However you want to study is best, is fine with me. Stratum corneum, also known as scarf, dead squamous cells that are cornified. Stratum lucidum, that's our clear, glassy, thick layer, found primarily lips, palms, and soles. Granulosum, the granular layer, where it's starting to die. Those cells are dying off and starting to flatten. The spinosum, where it's that prickly, spiny section, where it's mending those together. And then the stratum basal, which is also known as germinativum or mucosum. Does that all make sense to you guys? Is that is it explained good enough for y'all to understand that? So that is just one section of I don't know how close I should get this. So if you'll notice in this image right here, the top part right here, the epidermis is really shallow and small. Those are where those 5 layers are located. Between here and here is the dermis. That's our next section that we'll talk about from 3 to 4. Okay, and this one's really easy because this one's just fat. But this one has a lot going on, a whole lot going on. So between here and up in here, we have those 5 layers up there. And we just discussed that. So we got through quite a bit. So I hope that you understood it. So that was quite a bit of notes for you for this segment. And we know that it's hard to take a ton of notes. Let's see here. If there's any. Okay. All right. Now, I'll show you what now what I'd like to do is on your paper, I would like for you to just get a piece of paper out like this or turn it this way. I like to go landscape. And I'm going to draw this for you. So if y'all could all draw that for me right there, that'd be awesome. Okay, this outside, I'm going to layer that outside ridge is called the epidermis. So I'm going to write that down right there. I'm going to stress a little more and make this section a little, I'm going to trace over it just a little bit. And I'm going to show you that right there, this next structure right here is what I'm talking about right here. Cosmetologists especially, and nail technicians, well, cosmetologists, estheticians especially, you need to know this definition I'm about to write down right here. You want to label it follicle. Follicle. That is the follicle. And I'll draw an arrow to it in just a moment. There's a definition for the word follicle. No, Ashley, do not have to turn in the notes. Just the assignments that come to your email. And then what I want you to write down is follicle is a tube-like depression that encases the root. Tube-like depression that encases the root. So that's the follicle. Tube-like depression that encases the root. That is a state board question. I promise you, you'll see it. You need to know it. So I want to make something clear. Sometimes people call a follicle a pore or a pore a follicle. And I'll help you understand the difference between the two. But it's okay from this point out in your life if you call it a follicle and call it a pore. That's completely fine. It's no problem. But the mouth opening to that, every little hair, you can even see the hair on my arm. Every little hair on my arm has a little pocket under the skin known as a follicle. So I'm going to show you an up close picture. That right there. This thing that comes around here. This is the hair coming, the slender-like, thread-like thing. That's your state board. Slender-like, thread-like outgrowth. This little pocket around here, this tube-like depression, that is the follicle that's protecting this hair, this piece of hair that's coming out of the skin and living under the skin to grow. So the opening right here that you see right there is actually the pore. But people confuse it because this tube-like thing is also called the follicle. So this right here is called a follicle, but it's also called a pore. So if you say one or the other, it's okay. But if you want to get technical, the tube-like depression that comes down below is the follicle. The mouth opening is the pore. So what I'm going to do is just continue my drawing like so. Tube-like depression, and there's the pore. Olivia, if you have Katie's email, Katie's text or her email, she will email you the assignments today that we did, because you can get that hour credit back from going up to the school and then driving back or whatever. Okay, so there's the piece of hair that I just drew. So when asked on a test, what are the two divisions of the hair? Well, that single little piece of hair right here that I drew is divided into two. And has a name for one above the skin and a name for one below the skin. And I'm going to list that for you. But you can sort of draw that. Now, this person's drawing right here a little better. The main thing is that we understand, because we're not going to be drawing these for clients, but we need to understand it for our written test. So that is the actual hair that's encased in this tube-like depression, okay? Now, above the skin is called the shaft. That's the hair, that's how we label the hair. So the two divisions, right there, the two divisions of hair is above the skin. It's known as shaft. The second division is root. So the two divisions of the hair are shaft and root. Hey, would you go get me a couple little diagrams of projects that people have done in the past so I can tell them, you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Okay, thanks. Shaft and root. Two divisions. So if you want to write on your paper two divisions of the hair, shaft and root, I'm certain you will see that on your state board. Estheticians, maybe not, but you do study waxing, so you might. Now, a new thing that came up that I never saw when I was in school, this little thing this little protrusion here on the outside of the follicle, they call that a bulge. I've never seen it talked about on state board. I have seen it in some new textbook information, but I don't think it'll be a state board question. But it's that area right there is called the bulge. And I really don't know a whole lot about it. I apologize. I guess I could learn. and look it up. Okay, 2 divisions of the hair, shaft and root, follicle, tube-like depression. And then we're going to draw one more thing here. We're going to draw that little image right there. It looks like just an arm that's connected to the follicle. So with this arm right here connected to this follicle, that arm right there is going to tell this hair it's going to tell the nerves and the hair if you're cold or you're scared, and it's going to cause the goose flesh, or what people call the goosebumps on their skin. And this right here is a muscle, and it has to be connected to this follicle to make the pore swell and give us that goose flesh or that goosebumps. So this right here, I'm going to write down the word for it. It is called the Erector Pili muscle, A-R-R-E-C-T-O-R, Erector Pili, P-I-L-I, muscle. And that is the one that reacts to cold and fear. And here in a moment, Katie, I sent you one full email with all of their assignments for the rest of the day.
Okay.
The last email, and that's the one you can send. Olivia Fleck needs it. I don't know if she's on the distance learning. Okay. So she probably got the first one then too. She can get all the images drawn. Okay, so we have the erector pili muscle, we have the follicle, we have the root and the shaft, we have the pore. We'll be going into additional structures on this a little bit later since we're running out of time. It's 12:49. But I did want to just kind of cover that with you. So the images that Katie's going to send you are the rest of the images that you need to draw and recreate. And then remember, we're going to email again to BBS, all of these at 5 o'clock, by 5 o'clock, because we're going to be putting your hours in the computer. BBS, distance learning, at gmail.com. You will email everything so that we can tally up your hours. So all of the images that you receive today in your assignment box through your email will be sent to this email so that we can give you credit. So a lot of it is drawing, and I mentioned earlier in the first segment that you can pull it up on a computer screen and get a blank white piece of paper. You can lay the paper across your screen, and you can actually trace these if it's easier for you to do it that way. So you've got, I think, Katie, is it like 3 more to draw? You've got 3 more to draw with a little bit of listing, and that's just going to help you to identify these layers even more. The more you write it, the more you see it, the more you become in tune with it, and the easier it'll be on your written test, since we only go over this 1 week. Let's see, Taylor is not getting any emails, she's saying.
Okay, if she can just give me.
Okay.
I'll send it to her herself.
Taylor, Katie says she will. Oh, email spelled wrong in the above address. Oh, thank you. Ooh, Connor, I need my glasses on. Oh, it is. Okay. BBS, distance learning at gmail.com. I hope I got it this time. There we go. Thank you for catching that. So you'll send everything. Perfect. Thank you, Jessica. So she's sending that to y'all now. Now I also want to just take a few minutes because I know once we do the 3 to 4 o'clock, y'all will be ready to end the day and call it a day. So I want to take this opportunity for those 2 extra clock hours that we talked about, because we're not going to do any testing at the school because we knew that would just be like chaotic. These are different things that you could do. Did you bring 1 or 2?
About 2.
You could do something like this, okay? Some kind of little project for those 2 hours. This would need to be a picture of what you have done, would need to be turned in, and Katie's got another little sample. These are pretty elaborate. What about, didn't we have another one that was like 3D, like a side box or something?
Yeah, but I couldn't find it.
Well, I like that one. It's so good. You could use just a poster board, and you could use, this is our fatty layer we're going to talk about. This person used some yarn here and labeled all the different layers. We have the two divisions of the hair above the skin, the shaft, below the skin, the root. The brown indicates the follicle. This one doesn't have the sebaceous glands. Oh, wait, yeah, it is. Here it is. And the sweat gland. Then we'll talk more about the papilla down here, the reticular and papillary layer. We're going to go over at 3 o'clock. The tactile corpuscles we'll talk about. And let me show them up close, the other one. And this is just another one. These are pretty awesome. Don't go to a lot of expense. Just use, some materials. No, not today, Miriam. Just by Friday at 5 o'clock. You'll take a picture of it. Oh, Lynn, you can do it, girl. You can use a poster board. We've used pasta. We've used, you could use
we've used
soda straws.
Like beads, like Mardi Gras beads.
Toothpicks, but I will tell you, what is that glue with the white
Rubber cement.
Rubber cement. That glue has a tendency to work the very best to hold things together. So it's not mandatory, but for 2-hour credit, you will, yeah, pretty crafty, huh, Alexis? So for 2 hours, you could start working on this. I wanted to give it to you early. Today's only what? Let's see, today's Tuesday. So you have till Friday at 5 o'clock. Maybe you could get your little niece or nephew or brother or sister, somebody to do something fun with them and teach them something at the same time. It'd be kind of fun to let them learn. It could be ramen noodles that you could use. You could use elbow pasta. You can identify all the different layers. We typically do this when we're at school. So, and it's kind of fun. So email's coming now. And then tomorrow, same schedule. So maybe I'll type in the schedule again. Make sure we all understand. 9 to 10. I'm doing theory. And then help me, 12, because it's new to me, 12 to 1 theory, and then 3 to 5 or 4 theory. Then you've got those assignments to turn in. So that's kind of that's kind of our pace that we're doing. Is that working pretty good for you all? Can you let me know if that's? Yes, Connor. So whatever you create at home, just send us a picture of it, because there's not going to be really any way for us to see it, unless now if you do like something amazing, which we had some people do some amazing things with the color wheel during distance learning, and I'm so waiting to get my hands on it, because it's just, they did some really great stuff. Okay, good. I'm glad y'all like the schedule. Fantastic.
Also, Taylor Campbell, I sent her both assignments in a separate email.
Okay, Taylor, your stuff. And what about Olivia? And she's got her stuff.
Olivia's part of the old one.
Okay, good. Okay, so you're taking notes, and any assignments are going to bbsdistancelearning@gmail.com. We're taking roll every day. This way it's nice and organized, and we're all, you'll be notified when it's time that you have to return to the building or take a leave of absence until your situation is best for you. Things are going good here. They're going really good here. People are out there doing things and working, so it's not too bad. So I will see y'all. Let's see what time it is. 12:55. Go ahead and sign out for me. And if some of you've made a recent remark, that's fine. And I'll stay on until 1. And then we will hook back up again and go over the dermal layer, the dermis layer. So get those drawings done, and you'll be ahead of the game so that you're ready to turn everything in by 5. Y'all are doing really good. I'm proud of you guys. This is different for all of us. And Demaya, you heard me about your textbooks. If you decide you want me to take them to the South Campus, you just text me, and I'll be happy to take them with me today at 5 and drop them off over there. Otherwise, you can come get a thumb and fingerprint. Anyone who wants to stop by and get a thumb and fingerprint at a given time would be helpful in case you do come in the building and you want to clock hours on any particular week. Next week, North Campus again, we'll be shampooing, draping, and blow drying. We'll be teaching that to brand new people. Katie's getting our roll call done right now. Everything looks good. Y'all are doing great. Tough chapter, but lots of terminology, but glad we're getting through it. It is 12:56. I'm going to go ahead and silence it, and I'll just look for any other questions that y'all have up until 1 o'clock.